Hello and welcome back. I'm Marina Kim with the latest news from Kazakhstan. Here are the top stories. Kazakh Prime Minister makes optimistic forecast for the next year while the hunger strikers continue their protests in Astana. Members of the political party Alga continue questioning the legitimacy of the law on the leader of the nation. Kazakh citizens join efforts in their struggle against the unfairness of the judicial system. On Tuesday, Kazakh government reported about the optimistic results of its work in the last 6 months. While addressing the oil price issue, amongst others, Prime Minister Massimov forecasted a hot autumn, which apparently will be true for the country's political life as well.
Optimistic reports of the Kazakh cabinet members feature only achievements of the country for the past 6 months. According to them, the state had smashed the target in tax collecting, while the GDP growth exceeds the forecast by 2 times. Kazakh government will reconsider the macroeconomic prognosis in a few months. Prime Minister Massimov does not foresee any oil price fluctuations until the end of the year. I don't see any reasons for serious motions unless they appear any natural disasters, and we know they can happen in August, but let's hope they won't. The oil price of $65 per barrel is compiled based upon our budget policy. However, the government's optimism was shaded by the consequences of the extreme droughts. The heat wave had killed not only crops harvest but also cattle. A number of Kazakhstan's regions will now be supplied with reserve grain, while farmers will be assisted for $80 million. It is important to note that the prolongation of loans will be considered individually depending on the situation confirmed by documents. The government responded to the situation saying it will not affect the cost of wheat and bread. The authorities in all regions are creating food reserves to accumulate wheat and flour. At the end of the session, Massimov complimented the work of the cabinet, saying the government is a friendly team which thoroughly implements tasks set by the president. There are certain shortcomings, while some cabinet members are often criticized, but in general everybody is trying hard to improve the situation. Some may be doing better than others, but overall the result is speaking for itself. However, the population's assessment of the government's efficiency is reflected in a campaign recently launched by the party Azad, which implies collecting 1 million signatures to dismiss the cabinet altogether. Prime Minister Massimov, though, does not consider it as an indicator of the government's effectiveness.
During a separate press briefing, Massimov answered journalists' questions regarding the problems of construction interest holders. Hundreds of people in Kazakhstan had lost money they invested in state projects due to the crisis. The head of the cabinet was short and precise in his reply, saying he will not meet the protesters before the industry will see the return of lost money. All the while, he will not reconsider the decree which imposes limits on estate ownership rights.
Tuesday was already the 12th day of the hunger strike organized by real estate construction interest holders in Astana. At this point, they are visited by an ambulance on the daily basis. Prime Minister Karim Massimov does know about the protest against the decree posing the limits on the number of own apartments, although he cannot do anything about the matter. I have called up a special session with law enforcement bodies where I set a clear task to fasten the processes of returning the resources pocketed by dishonest construction contractors. So only when we are able to return that money, we will solve all other remaining issues. I will meet with protesters only upon obtaining full information on the situation and returning out-of-budget resources and money. This response didn't satisfy the hunger strikers, and on Wednesday they intend to march to the government's building and submit official letters to the authorities. Massimov must state clearly how much money was allocated from the state budget for these purposes and how they were distributed. It should be seen whether they were used appropriately for the completion of suspended estate projects and whether the state fulfilled the obligations it undertook. On Tuesday, the protest was joined by 10 more hunger strikers, while 4 were prohibited to continue the action due to the worsened health. The government's decision is wrong, as it violates the rights of ordinary citizens. I can hunger strike for 10 days. I have prepared myself not to take any pills for this period. There is total unlawfulness in Kazakhstan. There is no justice in courts. The lawsuits will be filed against Prime Minister Karim Massimov during this week. The interest holders intend to make the official to cancel his decree, which imposes limits on the estate ownership rights.
In the meantime, a number of lawsuits were filed against Massimov as part of the campaign recently launched by the oppositional party Alga. Its activists claim the law on the leader of the nation signed into force by Massimov and speakers of the parliament's 2 chambers is illegitimate. Supposedly, the officials abused their authority in granting Nazarbayev unprecedented powers.
The party activists insist Kazakhstan is a state with the presidential form of governance according to the constitution. This implies that any law comes in force only upon the approval of the president. In Astana alone, the Alga party members filed 5 lawsuits questioning the legitimacy of the law, all of which were rejected eventually. The Astana city court explained that the controversial law does not in any way violate the citizens' rights. The public activists are preparing a private appeal over this definition. Activists of the unregistered party Alga are appealing to courts across the country with demands to revoke the law on the leader of the nation signed and adopted by Kazakh Prime Minister and speakers of parliament's both chambers. Activists believe that since the president publicly objected the law, although did not formally vetoed it, the legislation is illegitimate. On Tuesday, 20 activists gathered near Semei's court alone. I am not protesting against the normative acts in this law, but against the actions of the high-ranking officials who adopted the law without the president's approval. People appeal to courts of the country, saying they are not against the law per se, but rather against officials making a decision without consulting with the nation first. The initial suit like that brought by journalist Zhanna Baitelova was turned away by the court, which hinted that an ordinary citizen cannot appeal the given law. 7 party activists in Pavlodar also demand to publicly withdraw the amendments to the law. The respondents should revoke the law on the leader of the nation and publish their address on the illegitimacy of their actions in newspaper Kazpravda. The campaign was joined by the Alga members in Almaty. As most politically experienced activists, the party members know beforehand the reasons why they are refused in the lawsuit. We were told to appeal to the court in Astana, but the judge will make its own decision. What will be the court's decision is not hard to guess, say the activists. Most likely the plaintiffs will be referred to the Astana court because of the residence of respondents. Although this did not really help the activists residing in Astana, as their suit was still not accepted.
A number of Kazakh citizens who encountered injustice in country's legal system see no other way but to consolidate their efforts to counteract the corruption machine. Find out more from the next report.
Many citizens of Kazakhstan complain about the country's judicial system. The courts are too quick in making decisions and even practice forgery. Rashida Zakirova filed a complaint against the court clerk, supposedly for the appearance of fabricated documents, which she found out about only during the next instance trial.
At the end of the trial, you have to sign a paper confirming you get acquainted with the case materials, and I remember signing it. But when I received the package of documents from the court, there were forged papers, and I have no idea when this happened.
The appeal trial lasted just 10 minutes before the judge announced a less than a 2-minute counsel break.
The appeal will be left unsatisfied. The next case, please.
At the end of the trial, Rashida was met by her fellow mates, whom she met during endless visits to the authorities' offices. Now they consolidated efforts and support each other. All of them have unique stories, alas with similar ends.
I don't know why we need the Supreme Court. You just come here, sit for a while, and then they reject your appeals without proper consideration.
I have an impression that this is an organized crime involving doctors, prosecutors, policemen and judges as one whole system. It's just impossible to reach justice. I'm seeking for 30 months now with no result. Pensioner Raisa Romanova has also suffered from the injustice of Kazakh court. She has been struggling for justice for 10 years and therefore does not believe in the fairness of the judiciary system anymore. Moreover, Raisa is convinced that the only way for desperate citizens to speak up about the problems is through protest actions. Therefore, she intends to start hunger striking on the Constitution Day.